Like a house, your body has many different rooms, and each of these rooms has a specific purpose. Like a house, if you don't take care of the rooms, they can fall into disrepair. November is Men's Health Month. Time to get your house in order. This is Your Healthy House. Brought to you by A. Vogel, supporting a happier, healthier you. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back. This is, day 3 of our 5-day journey throughout the house. I'm Kevin Frankish, and I'm joined, as always, by Bryce Wylde, who is standing by right now. And Bryce, this has been a really interesting comparison between a house and the body.
Just like we've got multiple organs in our body, Kev, many of which have to fully get dysfunctional and shut down before a guy goes to see the doctor, just as there are many rooms in the house that we got to take care of. And so we're talking about men's health this week, all week till Friday.
And I think that one of the things that we are running up against is something that we run up against all the time when we're dealing with men's health, and that is trying to get the message to men. We've had a lot of women who have messaged us, and they have said that they are getting it to their significant others. They're getting the message there. So I mean, if that's the way we have to do it, then that's the way we have to do it.
It's a technique that I've been using in clinical practice for over 20 years, Kev. Send the message home, right? Bring them in. That is to say, to the significant others, to those gentlemen who otherwise it takes them bleeding out of an orifice before they show up to our medical office. Right?
Why is that? Why is that? Do you think?
I think it's that manly man concept of I'm fine. There's nothing. Everything's going to be okay. Almost like an ignorance, an innocent ignorance, if you will. Rather than, and again, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. Right? I mean, it goes the age-old adage, but we need to pay attention more to that as guys. 1 in 7 of us will end up with prostate cancer over our lives. We'll talk about prostate health today as well in context of where we are, but 1 in 7. And 50% of us will have some form of enlargement of the prostate, but we'll talk about that as well.
And when we talk about the prostate, the one thing about it is if it's caught early, it's extremely treatable.
100%. It's one of those cancers that typically stays very local. In fact, the research shows that about 80% of us after the age of 80 will end up in our graves with prostate cancer, but it's not what killed us. So that's the good news. All
right. I guess the bad news would be whatever it was that ended up killing us.
True enough.
We were, where were we? Where did we start on Monday? We started with the office, the home office, with people. Briefly summarize what we did in the home office and compare that to the body.
Yeah, absolutely. The home office is like the brain, executive function. We got to be able to de-stress. We have to learn how to decompress. We have to learn how to manage our time. In the home office, we're much more at home in the home office these days than we've ever been before. And we just have to learn how to manage that. And again, in particular, stress. We talked about deep breathing, box breathing you shared with the group. Theanine is an amino acid I shared with the group, and a relax spray from A. Vogel, our sponsors this week, which is a lemon balm spray, which is phenomenal. So we talked about that.
All right. Yesterday we were in the kitchen.
Yeah, men healthy foods. The theme was red. We talked about, as we'll continue to talk about today, managing fat tissue, enhancing lean muscle mass, dropping some pounds, but also very red foods that contain high amounts of certain ingredients called antioxidants, lycopene being one of them, found in watermelon, of course, and pomegranates and tomato juice and tomato paste and so forth. Very heart healthy, very brain healthy, and very prostate healthy, Kev.
Okay, and what room are we in today?
We are here in my home gym. We're in the home gym, Kev. And by the way, you don't have to be, sort of decked out the way I am with all kinds of fitness gear. As long as you live in a place where there's a floor, you can do what we're talking about today.
All right. And what's the idea of being in the gym? How does that represent our bodies?
So I'm glad you asked. So at the end of the day, it really is muscle, cardiovascular muscle, skeletal muscle. Here's the tip, though. Here's the really important. It's more than a tip. It's the most important thing. If we can retain, as guys in particular, our lean muscle mass throughout our lives, it's the number one predictor of longevity. Sarcopenia, or the inverse, the opposite, loss of muscle mass over time, is the number one predictor of death and frailty, by the way, supersedes diabetes, heart disease, and obesity combined insofar as death. So the more you lose your muscle mass over time, the quicker your demise, Kev. So we're looking at retaining muscle mass. And this is the number one anti-ager, as I mentioned. So, there's some simple ways that people can take, get a finger on the pulse. The first one is a simple hip-waist ratio. All right, so we've got for guys a hip-waist ratio and for girls, but it's real simple. You measure around your hip, waist rather, just above the umbilicus or the belly button, and the hip is not where you'd think it would be. It's not the way. It's not the belt line. It's around that sort of lower, just lower than the belt line, around the actual hip. And now the ratio, the waist over hip, is how you do that division. So if my waist is 34 and my hip is 36, then I'm measuring in pretty easily as a guy. So for guys, we want to score under 95 or 0.95. 0.9 is even better. And for gals, you want to come under 0.85, and 0.8 is even better. Of course, they have more likely to have that sort of, thinner waist, and that's just a typical female build.
So we keep hearing so much about body mass, the BMI, and it seems almost unattainable. I can't get that skinny. I can't get that fit. It always set the bar way too high. So let's get the truth. Talk about the BMI. What should we be striving for?
So first of all, BMI stands for body mass index. All right. Really, we should abolish that. Body mass index is really silly. Here, let me paint a picture for you. Arnold Schwarzenegger, bodybuilder, in his prime, being that he was 220 pounds, 230 pounds, but 4% fat tissue. All right, that's even a little too low. But he, on the BMI, the body mass index, is considered obese. That's silly. You can't just judge your height and your weight on the scale. So what we want to really understand, and that's why we talked about hip-waist ratio, it's one step closer to understanding the idea around your actual physiology. We want to use bioimpedance. Bioimpedance is a really, really simple test. You can get this typically at a gym. I use in my clinical practice one that you actually attach to your, there it is on screen there. It's a little machine that you attach to your hip, to your wrist and to your ankle using these little EKG-like tabs. There you go. So really simple, uninvasive. That sends a signal through your whole body and gives us exactly, and we'll tell you about the right percentages here in a second. It gives you exactly your body composition, the breakdown of your body the way it is and ultimately the way it should be. So it really helps to achieve a goal. So body composition is where it's at, understanding your body composition. And so let's get into those percentages, Kev, as it pertains to body composition. So for both men and women, we're talking about the right amount of muscle mass, fat tissue, essential fat. So starting with muscle tissue, men should be about 45%, women 36%. We want to retain that throughout our lives. As it pertains to essential fats, 3% in men, not all fat's bad, and 12% in women, they need more of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's quite a divide there. So you're saying essential fat. What's an essential fat?
Well, we're not talking about omega-3s here. We're talking about the minimum amount of fat, essential fat, to be healthy. You don't want to have less than 3, otherwise it's very unhealthy for men. Women, because the body's always prepared, at least premenopausally, to getting pregnant, having a very, very low body fat is dangerous, especially for the fetus. But they also typically carry around breast tissue, and they carry around larger hips and buttocks, and that's also essential. So women, it's a female frame. So having less than 12% is not good. So the essential cutoff is 12. For guys, it's 3.
All right. Next one is non-essential fat.
So this is the stuff that's hanging around. For men, you want to have it about 12% or less. For women, about 15% or less. Most of us, men, are carrying around like 20 or even 30%. Women, sometimes 30 or 40%. We got to get this down, right? Brown fat's metabolic. White fat's the non-essential stuff we carry around. It's not metabolic. It sits around, creates inflammation, Kev. That's what we want to get rid of in our bodies.
Okay. And then finally, bone.
Yeah, so bone density.
Let me just go back to that one.
Yeah, organs, and then of course organs are important in bone. So this is all this compartmentalization we can test for through body composition, bioimpedance. So when it comes to bone, we're obviously men slightly more bone dense. And what's really interesting. You send anyone, male or female, out to space, and without gravity, in approximately a month, month and a half, you have osteoporosis, whether you're male or female, in outer space. Why is that? That's because there's no gravity. So we'll talk about this in a minute, we're meant to push, pull, jump, squat, and lift against gravity, and that sends a signal up into our bones to say, stay healthy bones, deposit calcium bones, stay rigid and strong bones. And so that requires walking, running, exercising, you against gravity, Kev, and that's going to keep a healthy bone structure for both men and women.
Okay, and then finally now, your organs. And our organs are basically fat.
Well, your brain
burning a lot of fat, I should say.
For sure. You do have fat. The heart loves fat tissue, so it stores fat tissue around it, so it's great access to energy. Of course, there's fat in the liver. You don't want too much. And certainly want to lower the abdominal fat, because that in itself is considered an organ. The adipose tissue there, when it's too much, it's going to push inflammation to your body, Kev. And let me show this on screen here for a second. This is a little demo. I show this to patients all the time. So this piece of muscle is 1 pound, and this piece of fat is 1 pound. And the fat is quite substantially larger, takes up more space. Muscle is much more lean and dense. And so again, these are a pound each, but we're typically carrying too much of this around. It takes 3,500 calories that you otherwise don't burn during exercise to build one of these. And when you pack them around different parts of your body where they're not needed, Kev, inflammation, hormonal disruption, prostate problems, for guys, moobs, right? Man boobs, we don't want that. Brain discombobulation, cognitive decline. We're talking Alzheimer's disease and all kinds of other things, Kev, when you have too much fat tissue floating around.
Question up on the screen right now. Do men have some kind of menopause?
Yeah, it's called andropause, or manopause. I like to affectionately refer to it as. That's when the big T dips. And so, helpful tip for guys, go to your family doctor on an annual basis and ask them for free, not regular testosterone, free testosterone. And that's ultimately going to decide how much is it floating around. We typically we dip into that, in our mid 50s. And also DHT, dihydrotestosterone. Those two tests are really important to look at. When DHT is too high, Kev, that feeds in to the prostate and grows it, and you don't want that.
So, and essentially, in menopause in women is a huge change. Andropause in men, huge change.
Absolutely. Libido is defunct or depreciating, lowering, sleep interruption, depression, lower energy, muscle loss, fat tissue gain. All of these things happen when T or testosterone is low.
All right. Let's get into now minimum movement. What is the minimum movement and types of movement that we need every day?
All right, Kev. So I mentioned earlier, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do a couple of very simple exercises here. We are meant to push, pull, jump, squat, and lift. And even if it's you against gravity, you can do all of these. So a simple pushing exercise is the classic push-up, right? So that's a push. That's what our bodies are supposed to be doing. So push. To pull, we can use a simple band, for example, and anyone can find these on Amazon. This is a pull. I'm exercising my lats. We're meant to pull. We're meant to jump. That's self-explanatory. We're meant to lift. Literally lifting anything, weights, medicine balls, slamming them against the ground. We're meant to be able to lift.
So essentially we are mimicking what our ancient ancestors had to do for life, not just for we have to do it to exercise. We have to purposely do it. Our ancestors did all this stuff and didn't even realize they were taking care of their body.
That's right. And doing that's going to maintain the muscle mass throughout your entire life. So we're supposed to be able to do all those things. So the sad reality is a lot of guys, well, both sexes, into the 60s and 70s, they can't even get off the toilet without pain or with ease, right? So it's just this overall body decline. And I've got some supplement tips and tricks for folks. But perhaps even before I get into that, let's just dive into that, because I think that adding some supplements to the routine can be very helpful. So a couple of things here. I want to show folks here. This is a human cell, and the divine equivalent of energy created in the cell. You're made of trillions of these. They're in the muscle and they're in your organs. These are called mitochondria. And the mitochondria...
Just do me a favor, Bryce, and just sort of center it up a bit more. There we go. Now we can see it.
Yeah, so the mitochondria here, and there are hundreds and sometimes even thousands, depending on the cell type we're looking at. They make energy for you, Kev. They make the divine equivalent of ATP. And so the first trick is NMN. NMN, or nicotinamide mononucleotide. You don't have to remember that. Just NMN. NMN can help these guys make more energy. HMB. HMB is something you can find on Amazon. It's a supplement study toward preventing muscle loss. Lastly, we all do pretty poorly with detoxification. Glutathione in the form of glycine. Simply take this, little powder, mix it into water, and this will help you detoxify and recover from exercise much more quickly, Kev. So it's called Continual G. Now, over to prostate support. I want to talk about this real briefly. I mean, if you're experiencing benign prostate hyperplasia, enlarged prostate, or if you're experiencing, broken stream, the prostate, as it enlarges over time, is relatively natural for some guys. But when it starts to impede upon the urination or the ability to have proper flow, so it's a broken stream or a forked urine or a hesitancy, or you can't empty your bladder fully, this comes hand in hand as well, by the way, with sexual libido loss or interest, difficulty in ejaculating or pleasure during sex. Prostate 1, which is an all-natural, saw palmetto, one a day, Kev, one little capsule a day, has been shown to not only improve the prostate health, but improve sexual activity, libido, urinary flow, all within a week or two. Like, this is a one-a-day program. So that's by A. Vogel. And I've got these up here. When you're working out and you some sore muscles, arnica, we've heard of that. That's incredibly helpful. And this is the relax spray we were talking about the other day. But A. Vogel, our sponsors this week, they make some incredible product, Kev. I mean, I use them in my clinical practice all the time.
And how true is it that 10,000 steps a day is a must?
So, I mean, I wear an Apple Watch, and I think a lot of that was commercially developed by Apple, but I love the goal because at the end of the day, I have to make my rings close, and it's a real incentive. We are meant to walk. We're bipedal. That means we've got two legs, and we now stand upright, and our frame is now meant and evolved to walk. So on top of push, pull, jump, squat, and lift, I believe running to some degree and walking is incredibly helpful. It's also really important for mental health. Just getting out and about, and 10,000 steps is very attainable. That's roughly 8, depending on your gait, that's 8 to 10, 8 to 10 kilometers. And, this includes walking up and down the hall, going out to your car, up the stairs, wherever you're going. I mean, it's all cumulative for the day. That's going to keep a good cardiovascular system and keep good circulation for sure.
All right. The other thing I really want to get, well, we've already gotten into it, but I definitely want to examine it further and be able to show it visually as well. And that is what we're talking about, the prostate. And a lot of guys, they know it's down there somewhere, but exactly where. And what's the problem with it? How does it enlarge, and what happens when it does enlarge?
Yeah, so first of all, anatomically, the prostate is located, just anterior to your bladder, or inferior rather to your bladder, and just on top, as you see, there's a walnut-shaped sized organ, and we're watching it get inflamed and getting enlarged. Prostatitis is something that can happen to it. Its job is to produce semen and ejaculate fluid, and when it gets enlarged, because the urethra flows through it. The urethra is obviously what, the bladder empties and you're able to urinate. So that and the seminal vesicles go through, the ureter goes through the prostate there. So when that enlarges and clamps down, you have a problem urinating. You have a problem with ejaculation. You have a problem, experiencing a positive response from sexual activity. And by the way, this is very hormonally related. And again, that's that DHT dominance throughout your life. People, guys should be getting, after the age of about 50, depending on your ethnicity, it's slightly higher in African-American men. And therefore they're earlier, but you should be getting your PSA checked, your prostate-specific antigen. It's a very good test to do with your family doctor. Should be under 3. If it's ramping up over time, even if it goes from 0.8 to 1.4 to 2.3 over a year, it's going to signal the doctor maybe there's something going on. But BPH, what we're talking about earlier, BPH, or benign or prostate hyperplasia, that's a simple benign enlargement, can cause a lot of these symptoms we're talking about that block flow, and it's just painful. It's irritating. Guys get up in the middle of the night multiple times, can't hold their urine, dribble, can't start a urinary flow. They're sitting or standing at the in the washroom for 5 or 10 minutes before a stream goes. So saw palmetto. I mean, it's a miracle. Honestly, the Avogel prostate 1. Kev.
All right. Okay. There's a lot said about the benefits of a sauna, but you want to take this one step further. You want to talk about the benefits of a sauna and the heat, but you also want to talk about the benefits of extreme cold as well.
This is all about resilience. So as guys, I think in this time, in this day and age, I think we've become too lackadaisic. I mean, by that, I mean, we got to push ourselves a little more. And what I mean by that is exercise more, get out of our comfort zone, but not for too long, just enough to know that, hey, we can actually withstand that, that minor stress or pressure for a short period of time. That allows us to not only decompress and handle stress better, but physiologically, it actually helps the immune system. It helps to retain the muscle mass, balance the hormones. So I practice this going from my sauna, frankly, into a garbage pail filled with water and ice. Watch this. Here we go. It was actually 54. It's solidified already. In my undies. Oh yeah. That's nice. A lot of people ask me why I even do this, and I'll tell you something. It's like a mental reset, and you kind of can't think about much else other than this frigidness.
Man. Okay, the first thing, Bryce, that comes to mind right now is that can't be good for you.
2 minutes of that after a hot sauna, and then I'm actually back into the heat. What this does is it's been proven, science around increasing resilience. So it's not good for too long. You could literally freeze to death, but it will activate the vagus nerve, this long branching nerve from the brain into your organs. And in short periods of time, it's fine as long as you learn a breath and you really tell yourself everything's fine. Kev, honestly, when I started, I was maybe at 30 seconds, and I built my way up to a minute, then 2 minutes. I'm now able to do 5. Some experts are able to do up to an hour. I don't get that. But I can tell you that knowing that I can do this, it's instilled a level of confidence in me that I hadn't had before. I don't recommend anyone with heart disease or hypertension, or if their doctor doesn't clear them for it, I don't recommend they do it and they have somebody nearby if they're going to try this. But I can tell you the science is clear about building resilience and managing stress hormones, and of course, increasing circulation, which, by the way, I know we're almost out of time here. I want to tell folks about an incredible technology that I've come to learn about, and it's called BEMER, or bioelectric magnetic energy regulation. BEMER. It's a type of studied PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. So this is electric delivery, and I'll lie down on the mat here actually.
Okay.
So this is the BEMER device. This is actually the B body here, and it's on right now. I just turned it on, and typically I go for 20 minutes on a high level. There's 3 different levels of this, and what it is these coils that deliver an energy that increases, let me just move this finger out of the way, that increases circulation, microcirculation, so recovery after exercise. So now I've done my weights, I've done the hot, cold, and I lie on this BEMER. And so excellent research. By the way, it's Health Canada, as well as FDA US approved as recognized as a class 2 medical device. So the science is incredible. It's pure. So, half of our circulation is actually the large arteries and capillaries. And then the other half are the microcapillaries, the tiny capillaries. We're so responsible for health in our organ tissues, our brain, our prostate, digestive system, you name it, and the muscles. And so recovery and increasing oxygen, Kev, and nutrients to the muscles and all of the organs. And you can do this without exercise, by the way. 20 minutes a day. Science is very, very clear about how it increases and improves circulation, improves recovery, sleep, oxygen delivery, and nutrient delivery. So, I mean, what can I say, Kev? The Beamer.
All right. So it says, Tina says, speaking of stress, you mentioned stress spray. And we mentioned that, I think, the very first day, Monday.
That's right.
And I've had a lot of people ask me this question: where can you get it?
Yeah, so the Vogel product here that makes a prostate one, and this is an arnica that I use if I ever get a bump or a bruise. The spray, the Relax spray, which as you can see here, it's in a little pump action. This is available, Kev, at health food stores. A couple of spritz. It's a lemon balm with a nice mint flavor. I've been using lemon balm in clinical practice for over 20 years. It's an immediate response. Excuse me, within about 20 minutes or so, you feel much more calm, relaxed, collected. One of the first of its kind, too, by the way. It's pretty incredible. There's really no sprays available like this that have been clinically studied and evaluated to reduce stress in the moment. Portable, you know.
Now, I've tried it, and I have to remind people, just because it's not actual medication, you still have to follow instructions. And the stress spray does state in it, take it with food, but not near when you're taking other medications.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it's contraindicated depending on what medications you might be taking. So always speak to your pharmacist or doctor. People want to go over, hop over to wyldeonhealth.com, and it's a shameless plug for my website right now because there's 500,000 pages of free information that if you're taking this drug, for example, it's called the Interactions Checker. What herbs, nutraceuticals, vitamins, minerals, etc. should you not take with that? And sometimes if you're taking a drug, what should you take with that? That's called a positive or a beneficial interaction. So you can look that up, and there it is, wyldeonhealth.com. Thanks, and folks can look up through the Interactions Checker. And by the way, there's just tons of recipes and what herbs and vitamins will do for you and all kinds of stuff. People can learn, by the way, about the Beamer that I was talking about in more detail because I've written a blog on it recently and how it helped me from my back surgery recover faster.
So let's summarize right now what we've done today in the gym.
Yeah, so, maintaining muscle mass is the key to a long, healthy life. The longer you can maintain that, the better. Abolish BMI. Forget about height and weight only. You want a bioimpedance to really understand how your body is made up, and then set your goals from that to reduce your fat tissue. Too much fat tissue, particularly abdominal fat, is going to lead to hormonal irregulation or imbalance and inflammation. We also talked about minimum push, pull, jump, squat, lift, run, and walk. Minimum of 10,000 steps a day, Kev. Get them in. Weight bearing, calisthenics, you against gravity. You don't need any special equipment. Just get it in. The benefits of hydrotherapy, hot, cold, to boost blood flow, circulation, decrease stress, and increase resilience. And last but not least, it's not on the board, but I'll throw it out again. Beamer, bioelectric magnetic energy regulation. To help with overall recovery, sleep, performance, circulation, just leading a healthier, happier life, Kev. Check that out.
Okay, so we started out in the home office. We went to the kitchen with the home gym. Tomorrow we're in a very important room, and that is the bathroom. And why is this so important?
Because, Kev, what comes in must come out, just like what goes up must come down. So the quality of your poop, frankly, what it looks like, how it dives into the bowl, and ultimately, how that regulates hormones, the biome, the microbiome, the good and bad bacteria, what might be growing inside of you that you don't want. And as guys, this has a large degree, to do with hormonal regulation, the prostate, sexual health, just so much more. 80% of your gut is your immune system.
It's not just your immune system, but even for your own mental health, and I know this is a mental health advocate, that the hormones that are made that help us with our mental health, there are feel-good hormones, the dopamines and that, are made in our gut. Like most of them are made in our gut. So when it says you are what you eat, you're not just what you eat. You think what you eat, if that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense, Kev. You're a leader in the area of mental health, and you've come to learn, what science is on the brink of really understanding more and more now, and that is absolutely the gut is a second brain.
All right, Bryce, thank you so much. I will see you in the bathroom tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
I
Well, I'll
can't
see you
wait.
there.